For any business, no matter how big or small, the world out there is just a sea of constant change. We're talking new tech, shifting politics, what customers want, it honestly never stops. So the real question is, how do you navigate all that without getting completely swamped? Well, it all comes down to the approach you take. Are you going to be a firefighter, always reacting to the latest crisis? Or do you want to be the one drawing the blueprints for your own future?
So, really, you've got two ways to play this. Over on the left, you've got the reactive approach. This is all about fighting fires, responding just to survive when change finally smacks you in the face. The huge problem here is that you're always one step behind, and a lot of the time, that's just too late. But on the right, that's the proactive path. This is about having your radar on, spotting those changes early, and actually adapting your strategy to turn them into real opportunities. It's the difference between being a victim of the future and designing it.
And this gets right to the absolute heart of the matter. Our source material puts it perfectly. Survival and growth aren't just about what you do inside your own company. Nope, they hinge completely on how well you can adapt to what's happening outside your walls. That's it. That's the fundamental rule of the game.
Okay, so if being proactive is the goal, how do we actually do it? Well, the solution is a really powerful discipline called environmental scanning. The best way to think of it is like your business's early warning radar system, one that's constantly sweeping the horizon for those little signals you really need to pay attention to.
So what is it exactly? Well, environmental scanning is a formal, systematic way of looking at the world around your business. This isn't about random guesswork or just reading the news. It's a structured process for monitoring changes and trends so you can figure out how they might impact you, whether that's for better or for worse.
And this is a really crucial point. This is not something you do once a year for a big strategy meeting and then just file away in a drawer. For this to actually work, scanning has to become a continuous habit. It's an ongoing, integrated activity where information is always flowing, keeping the whole organization ahead of the curve. The process itself is actually surprisingly straightforward. First, you're actively monitoring what's changing out there. Second, you analyze those changes. You figure out, is this a threat or is this an opportunity? Third, and this is so important, you write it down. You create a record, an institutional memory. And finally, you share that intelligence with the team. A brilliant insight is totally useless if it stays locked up in one person's head, right? That all sounds great, but where do you even start looking? The world is a huge, noisy place. That's where having a framework is so helpful. And one of the most effective ones is called PEST-A. It gives us a practical map for all our scanning efforts. PEST-IT, it's an acronym that breaks the whole big, scary, external environment down into 5 key areas: political, economic, social, technological, and ecological. So let's dive in and break this down one piece at a time. First up, P is for political. This is all about how government actions, policies, and just general stability create the rules of the game that businesses have to play by. And make no mistake, politics and business are completely, 100% intertwined. Now, when we talk about political factors, we're not talking about some abstract policy debate. We're talking about very real things that can reshape an entire industry overnight. Just think about how the GDPR data privacy regulations in Europe created a massive opportunity for a whole new industry of compliant software companies. A single piece of legislation can become your biggest threat or your next big thing.
All right, next up, we've got E for economic. This environment covers the broader economy, how resources get used, and how wealth is created and moved around. It's basically the financial weather that every single business has to operate in.
Here, you're looking at those big picture indicators. Think back to the 2008 recession, right? Consumer spending habits shifted dramatically. Luxury brands really suffered, but discount stores like Dollar General absolutely thrived because they understood that in a downturn, value becomes king. A shift here can create these huge tailwinds or headwinds for your company. The S stands for social. This one is all about people. Our values, our habits, our demographics, and our lifestyles. Businesses don't exist in some kind of vacuum. They exist to serve a society, and that society is always evolving. This list perfectly illustrates the kinds of deep currents you need to be tracking. Look at the growing cultural emphasis on health and wellness. That social shift created enormous opportunities for companies like Peloton and Beyond Meat, while at the same time, it posed a major threat to traditional fast food and soda companies that were just too slow to adapt. Just think about it for a second. The explosion of food delivery apps, the demand for sustainable products, the huge shift to remote work that's changing entire downtown economies, these are all direct results of social shifts that are affecting real businesses every single day. Now for T, technological. And wow, this one is moving faster than ever. It's not just about new gadgets anymore. It's about new processes, new materials, and entirely new ways of doing business that were literally impossible just a few years ago.
This is the category that gave us that classic cautionary tale, right? Blockbuster saw the internet as some little niche thing, while Netflix saw it as the entire future of distribution. One of them scanned the technological horizon and acted, the other one, well, they didn't. Ignoring these shifts is one of the fastest ways to becoming relevant.
And finally, our second E stands for ecological. This is all about our physical planet, the natural resources we all depend on, and the rapidly growing global focus on sustainability and environmental impact. This has become a massive, massive factor for modern business. A company like Patagonia, for example, didn't just comply with ecological standards. They saw the growing consumer demand for sustainability as a golden opportunity to build their entire brand around. They turned an ecological trend into a huge competitive advantage. And here it is, all in one place, the PESTE framework. This slide is a perfect little snapshot. A political shift could be new industry regulations. An economic one, maybe rising interest rates. Social, that shift to remote work. Technological, the explosion of AI tools everywhere. And ecological, that huge consumer demand for sustainability. It's just a really powerful way to organize your thinking.
Okay, so we've scanned the environment. We used our framework. We've got all this information. So, now what? This is where we get to the real payoff. This is about turning all that raw intelligence into a genuine strategic advantage.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? The goal isn't just to see the change. I mean, eventually everybody sees it, usually when it's already happened. The secret, the real competitive edge, comes from seeing it first.
And let's be crystal clear about this. This whole process isn't just about playing defense to protect yourself from threats. That's only half the story. The real power of doing proactive environmental scanning is that it turns you into an opportunist. It allows you to spot the new markets, the unmet needs, the coming trends, all before your competitors even know what's happening. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Using this framework, what is happening right now in the world around you? And maybe more importantly, which one of those changes on the horizon isn't a threat you have to manage, but could actually be your next great opportunity?